with special numbers. Okay, so page 214, we're talking about factor by grouping. Write this down real quick if you haven't already. And I'm going to do some review, and I need to get some terms down. Okay, right here is a multiplication problem. What's being multiplied? 2x by x minus 5. Okay, if these two are being multiplied, we can call 2x a factor and x minus 5 a factor. Do you guys remember that word, factor? Okay, you need to remember that because what are you doing today? Factoring. So you need to understand what the word means. Okay, this is called a monomial factor. You know why we call it a monomial factor? Because it's a monomial, one term. And this is called a binomial factor. Okay, good. Somebody tell me what the monomial factor is on the second set. -3. And someone tell me what the binomial factor is. X minus 5. Good. Now, looking at these two little expressions, what's the common binomial factor? And that's what we're going to be looking for a lot today, is the common binomial factor. What was not common? 2x minus 3. And that would be your other binomial factor. So it's like the bridge method. In fact, every year I've taught this in my using other curricula. I've always had factor by grouping first. Like that's lesson 8-2. Then you get to trinomial factoring. But this book flipped it around. And I want to see how it came out. It's fine. But have you done this before? Yeah. So hopefully this isn't new. Oh, I forgot to say it. Friday is going to be a good day. Friday, I'm going to go over the last lesson of this chapter. So we'll get to the last lesson. And then we will... all of you will be back. That's my prediction. Everyone's going to be back by Friday. That's my prediction. And then the third one is probably the best one. Is you know that bridge method? Who brought up the bridge method just now?
I did.
I think Marissa did. This is like the bridge method. This is like the second to last step. Okay, I'm going to teach you the shortcut to the bridge method. So we're going to ignore the bridge, the multiplying, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to come up with this directly, possibly, because it's a shortcut. Some of you get it, some of you might not. But we're going to see if we can make your factoring a little bit easier. But this is going to help me to get that down. That's for Friday. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Look at this expression.
Wait, is this what we're doing
today?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few more slides up, but basically, yep. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It's nice, right?
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
You're welcome. But don't thank me yet. Wait till the end.
Why did they put this after the logo?
What a great question. Can you give me some time to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay, so really, isn't this just review? And it's almost a review of part of what we did. We did more than this. Yeah, it is easy, and I hope you can get this down. Please don't mess up on these.
Isn't this literally just like associative?
Sorry?
Isn't this just associative property?
Not associative property. It's technically the distributor property. And here's how it is. Here's how it
Because
is.
you're just regrouping them. You're not actually multiplying anything.
No, it's okay. I don't mind the questions. But this is where I got with that monomial and binomial term thing I want you to get. Okay, what's the monomial here? P. What's the binomial? Okay, what's the monomial here? It's a 1. It's right there. And what's the binomial? Okay, so we have two things being added, right? You have this thing being added with this thing. And they have a common factor. They have a common binomial factor. So when you take that P minus 2Q out, you're redistributing the addition. Instead of addition, I'm making it now into a multiplication problem, which is this right here. So it's a distributive property. And it's hard to see because of the binomials. If these were just numbers, it might be a little bit easier, but they're not. They're just binomials and monomials being multiplied. So that's the distributive property. But how many of you could do this? Even if there wasn't a 1 there, you realize, oh wait, there is a 1. Okay, good. You guys good on that? Let's move on. This problem, when you write it down, is going to ask you to factor. Okay, on your quiz, most of you took it, not everyone did, but all of you know, you had to factor what kind of polynomials? Trinomials. Is that a trinomial?
It's a quadrinomial.
Okay, Remember in the trinomial, this is review. The first method you try is the yes method. So is that going to work here?
Yes.
No, because there's more than 3 yeses, more than 3 terms. Okay, that doesn't work. And remember, if the lead coefficient was 3, you use the bridge method. Is that going to work here, though? And then even if that lead coefficient was 1, are you just going to get 2 binomials and you can just multiply to get those 2 and then add to get that? Wait, which middle one should I get? It doesn't work for those because what's the highest power, by the way? X to the third. What were all the trinomials we dealt with highest power? Second was x to the second. So maybe if I had just that, maybe I could do the bridge, but not with all this added in. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the factor by grouping. Just group the first 2, group the second 2, and let's see if we can come up with a GCF. That's when you have 4 or more terms. Okay, what's the GCF of these 2? 3x and the second power squared. Good. And what was left in parentheses? X minus 2. And to check it again, 3x squared times x, 3x cubed. 3x squared times negative 2, negative 6x squared. So that works. What's the GCF of the next 2? Positive 2. Good. Positive 2. Notice I keep writing the sign because that's important.
The only thing is they're multiplying, right?
Oh, sorry. What's up? What's multiplying?
Those things are multiplying together.
What things? Yeah, just to make it clear.
3x squared and x minus 2
Yep.
is multiplying with 2x. Or is it added?
Yeah, you see, these 2 are multiplied, but then these 2 multiplying are being added with these 2 being multiplied. Yeah, and that's your order of operations. What would you have to do first? You'd have to do what's in parentheses, but you can't add those together. So you'd have to do what next? Yeah, distribute, because you have to multiply, and then you have to multiply that. And your final step would be to add those 2 together, which same thing here. Okay, do they have a common binomial factor?
X minus
2.
Oh, how nice. X minus 2. And what's uncommon? 3x squared plus 2. And all of these, just like on your quiz, which I hope you did. I haven't looked at them, but I hope you did. You checked them. This checks to get me that.
You use FOIL to check it, right?
Yes, FOIL. Sorry, I had to process that. It's early. I'm like, what is she saying? Got it. Actually, that reminds me. I don't know if you've ever pulled this one off or heard a student do this, but some of you can not pay attention, but still kind of answer the question. So I'm saying, all right, what are the 2 binomial factors? And I call on somebody. I remember this young boy, 6th grader, I would call on him. What are the 2 binomial factors? Asking a different question. And he'd be like he just woke up. What are the 2 binomial factors? So what did he pay attention to? The words. Like he knew what I said, but was he really paying attention? No, he just restate the question. What were the 2 binomial factors? Oh, and then he would say it. Bright kid, but he didn't really pay attention. So what do I want you to pay attention to? My words and the
action.
Yeah, the actions, the ideas, all the other fluffy stuff that I put in there. Yeah, it's fun. Sorry. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm learning that kid.
Don't do it. My wife and I both had him. She had him from English and history. I had him from math. And he'd do this. I love the kid, but he's just like, he never pays attention. So he's just like sitting there. You could tell he's doing something else, playing with his pencil, making something. Blah, what's the answer to this? And he would go, what's the answer to this? It is blah. And he would come up with it like, good job, kind of. All right, go ahead and do this one.
What's his name?
Blah is his name. Blah, Junior.
Nope,
Okay.
it's definitely Junior.
Yeah. And so, since my wife and I, while you're doing this problem, since my wife and I taught some of the same kids, we actually bring up some of their names because they had the same, like, sometimes my son does something like that. So we say, hey, that's whatever name, because we know exactly what they were doing. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. I can't say. Well, we would say like, oh, that's John. That's John. We know that's what John would do. I don't want to say his name. I don't want to reveal it online, because who knows? Okay. Betsy, what's the GCF of these two?
4a squared.
Good, 4a squared. And Marissa, what's left here?
Let's see. So 3a to the first.
Uh-huh.
And then 4
Plus
b or
plus 4b. Uh-huh. All right. So that's your first factoring. Second factoring. Jensen, what factors out of these two?
3
Positive 3b
b
squared. Okay. And then John, what's left behind in parentheses?
3a plus 4b.
Okay, great. And do we have a common binomial factor? Yes. So mission successful. Ooh, maybe. And then you just write down your answer. Do the signs matter?
Yes.
Do the numbers matter?
Yes.
Do the exponents matter?
Yes.
Do the parentheses matter?
Yes.
Does the order matter?
Yes.
No.
Okay, kind of and kind of not. Like, you got to have these two together, but you can't just flip everything around. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so for these problems,
Awesome.
if you didn't get a monomial that is like the same, that's common to both, you normally get it wrong, right? So say like if 3a.
Oh,
plus
so
4b
sorry.
wasn't
If you did not get this to be common with that,
Yeah.
that means you need to try something else.
Okay, so are we ever going to work problems out where
Yes.
the answer's still right, but they're not common?
We're going to work it out where at first you don't get a common binomial, but then you do something else, and then you can get it. Yep. But you do want that to be true to get to that. Ah, man. What a great question. Just practice these two, and then we'll move on to maybe something that could be different. I don't know. But try these out. These are numbers 1 and 5 on page 215.
Is this review?
This is just review what we just did this morning. I just want to see if you guys would do it on your own. No help. So I'll give you these. These are 1 and 5 on the try these. Just factor them out.
Mr. When you group them together, do they have to be in standard form?
They don't have to be, but that's helpful. Yeah, like that one down there, 5. That's
Yeah.
good. It's nice. But it doesn't have to be. So please don't quote me saying you must get it standard form. But it is nice sometimes. Why am I being so vague? Well, these are a couple of nice problems, right? Mr. A, really? We're going to do this? Yeah, kind of. Remember I said there was good news and bad news? The good news is that this is review. The bad news is that this is a new lesson. Yep. Like, there's nothing new about this. Betsy, what's the answer number 1?
I got 3c plus 2d, and then a minus b.
Okay. Yes, that's the answer. Hopefully you guys got that one. And you could put a minus b first, and then 3c plus 2d. That's fine. Okay. Second. Sarah, what's the factoring? Just give me the answer. I don't have.
I got x minus 7 times x squared plus 1.
Okay.
Friends do that.
Now listen to me. I don't know if that's the answer because I didn't do the work, but here's how I'm going to check it. What's x times x squared?
X3.
X to the third. What's x times 1?
X1.
1x. What's negative 7 times x squared? Negative 7x squared. What's negative 7 times 1? Negative 7. Did FOIL get me this? Yes. So that has to be it. Yes, ma'am?
I didn't get that.
Okay. What did you factor out of these two?
I got x squared,
Mhm.
and then I put that on the outside. That's right. Yeah, but you didn't finish.
Oh, yeah. You have to get this as your... So you probably got this. Is that...
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're like, okay, what's common? The x minus 7, what's not common? Yep, so just take it one more step. All right, that's it. Good on that?
Oh wait, well, this is kind of like random, but
Okay, I like that, kind of.
so why? Is there any reason for
Oh, x. Yep,
x squared plus 1 on the right side? Because it needs to be on the left. The best way, the easiest way is to just knock out the x minus 7. Like, just knock out the one on the left.
You mean like that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the easiest way, Mr. A, is
Thank
just
you.
knock out the first one, and you just, it's
Wait,
already there for
now
you.
you just have the circle. And
Yeah,
group,
and
and
move
the
it.
circle.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
I think it did.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes, technology and me, we're becoming friends. Thank you, Swivel. Thank you, Jensen. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Thank you, Internet, for making me a star. Thank you, young boy, who I just referenced to. I'm not going to say your name, not today.
Jeremy.
It's close. It is a boy's name. All right,
It's Jason.
try this one out. Okay, so I'm going to group.
See, that's what I thought.
I thought
What just happened here?
Wait, Mr.
Hold
A,
on.
give us
Yeah. Got it. I was so confused but oh man, it's awful. Awful.
Can we just do
Awful.
one thing in parentheses and then
All five.
No, because this won't come out. To
It's
that.
not in standard form. It's not in standard form.
So hold on. Let me answer a few questions. What's your question? All right, time out. Go ahead.
I saw tech.
Did you do this?
On the last parenthesis,
Uh huh.
I just don't know.
Yep. So here you see it's kind of like we did here. What's the GCF of these two terms? 2. So I put 2. And then how do I find this? So you just do 2r to the 5th divided by 2, and then 2 divided by 2 to get these two numbers. So like what's 2r to the 5th divided by 2? 1r to the 5th. And then what's 2 divided by 2? 1. That's how I get those numbers. Same thing over there. But this didn't work.
It's not in standard form. I didn't.
Okay, now, do you remember what I said about that, boys? It is. It's good. You're right. But what I say about that, just to help you out,
Is it easier?
it sometimes works that way and good. I can rearrange y.
Commutative property.
Because of the commuter problem, I can rearrange it. If you guys want to rearrange it to write it in standard form, to start off, I'm okay with that. I'll be fine with that. So all I did was I rearranged everything in standard form because the first time I tried it, I didn't get a common binomial factor. I need that. So I think someone asked me, do you have to have the parentheses in common? They must be in common. They have to be the same. So what's the GCF of these two now? 2r to the 3rd. That's okay. I just rearranged it. You see how I rewrote the original problem?
So you have to rewrite it before you can do it?
Sometimes, yes. Yep.
Sometimes?
Yeah, because sometimes it would have worked, but this time it didn't. So what happened was you tried it, it didn't work, try something else. And if you want to always try out standard form, fine. But sometimes you have expressions that they can't be written in standard form because you have multiple variables, or even standard form doesn't work, but that's fine. Okay, what's left here? What's left here after you divide by 2?
2r, or r to the second.
R to the second
Plus 2.
plus 2. Now, I'm going to check that real quick. What's 2r cubed times r squared? 2r to the 5th. What's 2r cubed times 2? 4r to the 3rd. Okay, so that worked. What's the GCF of these two? Positive 1.
R squared plus 2.
Which very nicely gave us the common binomial factor. Yes.
Well, that always works.
No. No. Oh, sorry. If you rearrange it in standard form, it will work a lot of times. But even then, it doesn't work. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. So listen carefully, everyone. Carefully. When you get a problem and it didn't work factoring it out, like you factored by grouping it the first time it didn't work, you can group And this is how you can say it simply. You can group the first term with the last term. So you can just rearrange it. You can do 2r to the 5th and then move that over, scoot everything down. Or you could do the first with the third term. You can group these two together and then group those two together. And then it should work out. If it doesn't work out for any of those scenarios, what is the answer? Prime. Yep, it doesn't work. There's nothing to do. But shouldn't I try a perfect square trinomial?
No.
Why?
Because it's not a trinomial.
Thank you.
It's a polynomial.
Please don't.
It's not a polynomial, it's a polynomial.
Good. It is a polynomial with 4 terms. Okay, so here's your final answer for that problem. So the common binomial factor and then the uncommon part. There you go. That's your answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. You try it out. You do what you want to figure it out. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Whoa, Mr. Wright.
So you could try factoring the way it is. It may work. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. So then you try something else and figure that out. They're being really nice to you on these examples. It doesn't stay this easy. How many of you are going to write in standard form? Okay, that's fine if you don't, or if you do, that's fine. It's a good way to maybe so that you're always doing it the same way, but I want to see what it comes out to. Okay, what's the GCF of the first two? N to the third, or 1n to the third, yep. I get 3n squared.
You can't divide that.
Sorry? What can't divide what? Tell me.
Can't divide. Wait, there's no GCF.
Yeah, what do they both have in common? They don't have a number in common, right? Other than 1. But doesn't this have 5 n's and that has 3 n's? So they have, you have 3 n's in common. Right? So they both have 3 n's. Yeah, what's 3n to the 5th divided by n cubed? Well, what's 5 minus 3? That's a subtraction. That's okay. I think it's because there's a couple things you do at the same time. But okay.
This one has 1. It's 6.
Sorry, 6.
No, wait. The second one doesn't. What? The second one doesn't.
Uh-oh. Shh, it's okay. It happens. Just make sure. So listen. When you get your factoring, when you do your factor by groupings, just do a little mental check. Are these two going to multiply to get me that? Yes. Are these two going to multiply to get me that? So this is correct. These two, did they get me that? These two, did they get me that? And then I have a common binomial that I factor out. And that is it. Okay. Did anyone do it differently and still come out? Because it could be worked differently. Okay, you could have done this. You could have switched these two around and these two around. And what would have happened was you would have switched those two, but it still comes out the same thing because look at commuter property. Could I have technically put 2 plus 3n squared? Yeah, could I have put 6 plus negative 3? Sorry, 6 plus n to the third? Yeah, so you could switch them around. They still come out. All right, I'm going to give you guys another one that's tougher. Sorry? Excuse me?
We were saying C, senor.
Oh.
Because is...
Oh, it's A.
It's not senor off, but it's senor off.
Are you guys trying to make me angry?
No.
I remember seeing Mr. A.
Oh, I get angry. When I get angry.
That's the one time when you
No, he didn't get angry. He just got really sad. You made Marissa cry.
I'm so sorry, Marissa. Kind of. Because now she's smiling about it, but at the time I felt bad. I was like, ooh, I took it too far.
I was like, I'm so sorry. Wait, when?
I don't remember.
Were you here?
It was a while back. Oh, yeah, she's like, do you ever get called Mr. Alka-Seltzer? And the memories of being called that as a young child.
Were you actually called that, or was that just something you made
No, you know, it was more common because Alka-Seltzer commercials were on when I was a kid. All of you already know Alka-Seltzer, so no one hears about it.
I still feel bad about it.
Is that you actually-
Alka-Seltzer
you
is,
actually
yeah.
got called that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's yeah. So that's, yeah, now.
Oh, I thought you were faking.
I thought
I thought you were
that
faking.
was unprofessional. Real.
I thought it was faking too.
Now Marissa feels I feel bad.
No, I don't feel bad. No, it's like,
I feel bad.
well, if you feel bad because it's bringing back very traumatizing memories for me, that's okay. It's not for me. Like, don't worry about me. Think about my boys. They're the ones who are going to face it.
Really mean. I'm sorry.
It was slightly mean. You're right. That's true. Gotta admit, that was kind of mean.
That's right, you called her Scarlet last week. So.
Yeah, okay, well.
I like mold better. Pink mold.
What's wrong with Mr.
Mold is
A?
not pink.
Yeah.
No, look under a microscope. When they put dyes in them, it's pink.
When you die, that's disgusting.
Well, that's when you die.
Well, it's when you see mold, usually it has no color, but they have to be able to see it, so they dye it, and then you can see it. So,
I no
I've seen
longer
that.
feel bad because you got me back, so now we're even.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, we're even. Even though I cry myself to sleep every night, that's okay.
I feel so guilty.
You should feel guilty.
Confession.
Wait, Mr. A,
Ma'am.
I got like a weird answer that I didn't.
Okay, this one's a little tougher because of the negative sign, so did anyone rearrange it first? Okay.
I did it wrong.
What did you rearrange it to?
I did it to 6p cubed minus 14p squared plus 15p minus 35 because also it's in standard form, but it helps like when you're trying to find like the GCF because like 15 and 35 you can easily see it's 5.
Oh, okay, so you're just trying to find, these can factor out pretty easily.
Oh, I did it.
Well, and also,
If you don't do it, you don't get it.
Okay, I got it.
if you don't do this,
If you don't do standard form.
yeah, I don't know. You could.
The GCF would both be 1.
I accidentally.
I got it.
Wait, I accidentally wrote down 30.
Oh.
So then I got 2 and.
You could, look, John, I'm already seeing a way you could do it. If you didn't write it exactly like this, if you flip these two around and those two around, you get the same thing. It's
What if
just,
you had it's a top form.
no, you can't. You cannot get it.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
Sorry, what's the GCF of these two? 2p to the second.
3p minus 7.
I did 2.
Oh my
No, it's not.
3p minus 7. 2p plus 5 times
2p squared plus 5 times 3p minus 7. Awesome.
Me, don't.
Okay, so
Ma'am.
did you put it in I did. Okay, so that's what I did.
So when do you know to put in the parentheses? Like you can also do 2 times 3.
Okay, and then the common two rows.
Then you can still get 6p.
You would still get this, right? But you always got to get the GCF. Don't they both also have, so get the, that's all you did lesson 8-1, you got to get the GCF. Because then you will come up with this.
Divide each of the terms by
And if you don't, you still come up with something that looks right, but it's not going to be the same. Okay, the answer would be yes. 2p squared plus 5, 3p minus 7, multiply. All right, that's it. Your turn.
Mr. A, you need to explain to her not. I feel really guilty. First, I'm sorry.
Do you really? Okay, hold on, time out. But get this by swivel. I gotta handle some other problems here.